Well, we've got a lot of great news to talk about today. The Tesla team has done an incredible job of executing over the past year, and we have many exciting years ahead of us. Tesla Master Plan Part 3, which admittedly was quite technical. We wanted to go into a lot of technical depth. It was clear that what we were saying was not just were not merely assertions, but that they were backed up with physics and with real data, that it's realistic. And with the Master Plan Part 3, we want to basically, the goal is to give people hope, realistic hope, and maybe hope's even the wrong word, but simply to say that there is a path to a fully sustainable global economy, that we are on that path, that we are accelerating that path, and that so long as we don't get complacent about it, it will happen. So I'll kind of rush through a recap of the Master Plan Part 3, but some of the salient points are that it will actually take less energy to go sustainable, not more energy. It's actually more and some of these things may sound very obvious, but it's more energy efficient to go sustainable, not less. There's less mining that is required for a sustainable energy economy, not more. Also very important. I mean, I don't want to go off on a tangent too much on that front, but it's very important to appreciate that most of our battery packs are iron-based. A majority of our battery packs are iron-based, not cobalt. And then our other battery packs are nickel-based, not cobalt. The nickel batteries use a little bit of cobalt as a binder, but only a tiny amount. In contrast, your phones all use 100% cobalt. But even for the small amount of cobalt that we do use, we will make sure, 6 ways to Sunday, that no child labor is being exploited. Obviously, we're a company that cares a lot about doing the right thing, and we don't want to delude ourselves or delude anyone else. So, yeah, kind of. Actually, in a nutshell, the way to think about sustainability is the faster we can make battery packs, the faster we can move to a sustainable energy economy. That's the fundamental limiting factor. When you look at the emissions over time, electric vehicles absolutely win by a long shot. And as we're seeing, the cost and the emissions required to produce an electric vehicle are dropping rapidly over time. And once again, the top two most desired companies for engineers on Earth were SpaceX and Tesla. We're also excited to announce our next-gen drive unit, which is a big reduction in silicon carbide. It's half the factory space. Notably, there are 0 rare earth elements required. So for the first time in, I think, over 100 years, we're actually going to change from a 12-volt voltage of, outside of the drivetrain to a 48-volt architecture. And to first approximation, that means we need only about a quarter as much copper for in the car as would be needed for a 12-volt battery. So that's a big deal, because people are often worried about, is there enough copper? Yes, there is. And FSD beta is growing hyper exponentially. So that chart is going to look like a wall, basically. There's really just one last piece of the system that needs to be a neural net, which is the planning and control function. And so we expect to have that last piece become a neural net, so it'll be end-to-end from video in to control out as a neural net. The thing to appreciate is it's not that full self-driving will be as good as a person. It will be much, much better, like a lot. Like over time, 10 times safer than a person. It's not even going to be a contest, frankly. And I think some people realize it. I think you guys probably realize it. But being able to do a software update and have several million cars suddenly go from manual driving to autonomous, I think will be the single biggest asset value increase in history. I'm actually surprised that so few people realize this, or maybe they just don't believe it's real, but it is. So this is really an insanely big deal. We're also the largest EV maker in the world, and while at the same time being the highest margin of any car maker in the world. Now, making electric vehicles profitably is hard, as illustrated by the difficulty of our competitors. A number of our competitors are making EVs at a significant loss. But we are not. We are actually making EVs profitably, and almost no one else is. And as you can see, our free cash flow per year has been increasing steadily. So I want to make sure that this is not just the good news parade. It's important to understand that no company is immune to the macroeconomic environment. But that said, it won't be darkness forever. I expect probably a year of difficulty globally for everyone. And then my best guess is that the global economy turns around in roughly 12 months. And then Tesla will be in an extremely good position. So anyone who is a long-term investor, I think, will do extremely well. And here I want to give a big shout out to the Tesla internal software team. This is all internally written Tesla software. I think there are almost no companies in the world can do this because they do not have a very talented internal software team. So they're generally reliant on third-party enterprise resource planning software. But Tesla is not. This is a hidden strength of the company that often doesn't get a lot of attention, but is incredibly powerful. So once again, I'd like to thank them for their work. And as predicted, we are highly confident that Model Y will be the #1 best-selling car on Earth this year. Tesla cars are actually the safest cars in the world. We put immense effort into vehicle safety, and we keep updating the safety. So we keep improving the automatic emergency braking system just with a software update. While lots of cars will say they've got 5 stars or whatever, there's nuance to that. When we did the European NCAP sort of active safety tests, we got the highest scores that they've ever seen. And then it's worth noting things like the total cost of ownership of a Model 3 is now comparable to that of a Toyota Corolla. Going to Megapack, because this is stationary storage is an important part of solving the sustainable energy problem. And the Tesla Megapack is now more competitive than a natural gas peaker plant. So we have very strong demand for the Tesla Megapack, and we're going to make a lot of them. So, and a while back, I predicted that the Tesla stationary battery pack business would actually grow faster than the automotive side of things, and that's exactly what has happened. You can see it's an exponential curve, growing at a rate that is even faster than our vehicle sales. We're expanding Gigafactory Nevada for the Tesla semi-production line and for the 4680 in-house cell production. So we're aiming for 40 gigawatt hours a year, both in California and in China. But I think long term, this will be much greater than this. I mean, I would say I wouldn't be surprised if long term the stationary battery pack activity went well in excess of 500 gigawatt hours per year. So the demand is like quasi-infinite here. As we look ahead to tackle what we see as the choke points in the supply chain, one of them is lithium refining. It's not that we wish to take on extra problems, but since nobody else was doing it, we felt we had to do this. And so we've just broken ground on a lithium refinery in Corpus Christi, which will be do more lithium refining than I think probably everything outside of China. And we've signed a deal for our next Gigafactory in Mexico, Giga Mexico. And I think that's going to be a fantastic factory. So we're laying the groundwork for ultimately getting to 20 million vehicles a year. So Cybertruck is a hard car to make. It's because it's such a radically new design. It actually, you can't just use conventional methods of manufacturing. We had to invent a whole new set of manufacturing techniques in order to build an exoskeleton-based car instead of an endoskeleton-based car. So it's extremely non-trivial to build the Cybertruck. But we're making good progress on that. We have the so yes, it's, that's the thing. When I in the factory, I tour the Cybertruck line to see how we're doing there, and sorry for the delay, but we're finally going to start delivering production Cybertrucks later this year, and I think the product, if anything, is better than expectations. So, and people always want to know what our next product is. But this is not the time to. We obviously need to have a proper dedicated product launch. I just want to emphasize that we are actually building a new product. We are actually designing a new product. We're not sitting on our hands here. There are 2 new products that I think you will be very excited about. And both the design of the products and the manufacturing techniques are head and shoulders above anything else that is present in industry. If I were to guess, I would say of these 2 new products, just these 2 new products alone, I would say we will probably make, obviously this is just Elon's guess, so don't sue me. But Elon's guess is that that will probably make in excess of 5 million units a year of these 2 models combined. So. These are all real, by the way. I think the thing perhaps most notable is if you look at the difference between the last time we showed Optimus, and this is a video that was taken basically yesterday, and the Optimus team was up all night making this video. The Optimus team has done an incredible job. So just, yeah. And it's the motors, the controllers, the electronics, and everything you see in the Optimus robot is a Tesla-designed system. So this is, we actually tried to find drive actuators and whatnot that were off the shelf. We found that there weren't any. In order to make an effective humanoid robot, you actually have to design the motors and gearboxes and the electronics from scratch, because it's a very different application from anything else that exists. So we took our world-class motor and power electronics team and said, okay, we need to design several actuators that don't exist in the world, and they did. So Optimus is working quite well. And then for full self-driving, as full self-driving gets closer and closer to generalized real-world AI, that same software is transferable to a humanoid robot. Just like humans can obviously walk around with their arms and legs, but we can drive a car, fly a plane, steer a boat, ride a horse. If you have a generalized understanding, or if you have generalized real-world AI, which is what we are developing for full self-driving, it can be transferred to basically anything. So Optimus will use the same FSE computer as the car. The Optimus stuff is I think extremely underrated. Because people just cannot comprehend the consequences. Now, obviously, we need to make sure that we don't have a Terminator scenario. That's very important. It's all fun and games until Terminator shows up. But if you say, like, if you have had a generalized humanoid robot, what would be the effective ratio of humanoid robots to humans? Because I think basically everyone would want one. And maybe people would want more than one, which means the actual demand for something like Optimus, if it really works, which it will, is, I don't know, I mean, 10 billion units? It's some crazy number. It might be 20 billion units if the ratio is, say, 2 to 1 on people, humanoid robots versus people. It might actually be. It's some very big number, is what I'm saying, and a number vastly in excess of the number of cars. So my prediction is that Tesla's long-term value will be a majority of the long-term value will be Optimus. And that prediction I'm very confident of. So anyway, yeah, that's it. So yeah.